Hey Barbie. Yeah, I know. We're going there. I'm a little late to the party. It's in the hospital. Things happen. Anyway, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna start on our series about what did and didn't work from a storyteller's perspective on popular pop culture. And what better way to start than the Barbie movie? Everyone loves Barbies, right? Maybe. What we're going to talk about right now is the message and the theme, where it made promises and did it keep or fail to keep any of those. Let's dive into it. So first we need to understand what is the message, and as authors we need to figure this out and really hone in on it so that our readers know where we're going and understand what we're promising them. So in the Barbie movie, was the message female empowerment? Was it embracing your inner hopes, dreams, learning to be playful again? Well, according to the interviews with the director and screenwriter Greta Gerwig, it's feminism. It's very broad. All right, feminism. So one of the things that surprised me is she admitted in some interviews, not like it's a big secret, that she really didn't play with Barbies as a child. So is this coming from a place of love? Is it coming from a place of confusion? Let's find out. So trying to figure out what the theme is, what the message is where a lot of authors go off the rails. And unfortunately, Barbie started having some issues. Here's the thing. If you don't like your theme, you don't like your genre, you don't like the tropes in your genre, you don't like the audience. Yeah, I'm looking at some of you, Kat, who want to get into romance because you think there's a lot of money in there, but you don't like romance novels. Seriously, we will know. Readers will know. Don't do that to yourself. Write what you like. Okay? So, one of the things that a lot of people thought when they saw the early trailers and commercials is this was going to be a love letter to Barbie. This was going to be a love letter to being fun and playful. It was going to be a great frothy summer flick. I was so looking forward to that. Oh my gosh. So, and I'm going to kind of go off the topic a little bit, but I do want you to understand because some of you might be at some point asked to take over an intellectual property, and if so, bravo. Kudos. Let me know. Want to hear about it? Want to support you. So it was something about, the nostalgia value of having an intellectual property, having Mattel's backing, having Barbie. How can you go wrong? All right, well, it was a PG-13 movie, so I was kind of hoping for something a little more. Personally, I'm going to tell you though, I liked the movie up until the clothing heist. Oh, by the way, spoilers. At this point, if you haven't seen Barbie, you probably know everything about it, so, but I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Okay, so I thought Greta was going to do some sort of commentary about the real world versus Barbie Land. Things like the expectations of childhood, representation, misrepresentation, something about beauty standards maybe, or going into whatever fourth wave feminism is going to end up looking like, because that hasn't been decided yet. And hopefully focus on entertainment versus message. And that's something that, especially for those of us that want to try to say something important or deep, we want to entertain and draw people in. So we're not hitting them over the head with the message 20 million times until they look at you or look at the picture of you on your website and say, oh my God, do you trust me? Trust me, I can figure it out. Trust your readers, trust your audience. Okay. So here's my issue. They couldn't settle on an antagonist. As a storyteller, we want to narrow our focus down, and there were way too many antagonists in this movie. It got diluted, it got diffused, it got confusing, and it got really... tedious isn't the right word, but it's kind of down that path. Okay, we need to really go back to basics as authors. Know what we're trying to say, know what our plot points are, know how we need to interact with our heroes, know how we need to set them up. And then when we hit the point of no return, take them down and give them a happy ending. Okay, romance. I know this wasn't really a romance movie, but that's our genre, the trope. That's what we do. All right, so let's look at some of the antagonists here. Was the villain supposed to be corporations? I mean, I guess, although I really don't understand how Mattel actually allowed those scenes. And frankly, it was kind of a lazy impetus to get stereotypical Barbie, Gloria, and Sasha back to Barbie Land. There was no bark. There was no bite. There was really no use for them. Be judicious, but ruthless when you're editing down. If you can combine characters, if you can cut things out, do it. Make that book go fast enough to keep people in, but not so fast that they feel like they're getting dizzy and they need to back off and stop, okay? So another antagonist could have been the push and pull of expectations, navigating between who we want to be versus who we think we should be. At least it almost got there, but it was very superficial. As y'all know, I don't edit, I don't do cuts, I live by a base. The push and pull of expectations came off as a little shallow. It could have had a little bit more punch there to it. The complications of navigating between femaleness over generations, plus the inherent tension between mothers and daughters, that would have been genius. And this is something that Greta knows how to do. We've seen it in some of her other work. Put more time in there, put more effort in there, really narrow our focus into that, and how as women, as mothers, the interactions that we have with our daughters changes our entire perspective and reminds us and also scares us about being young and growing up. And then finally, I think that a lot of people wanted us to assume that the maleness, patriarchy was an antagonist. All right, so we're gonna put a pin in patriarchy for just a moment. I'll come back to it, I promise. And again, this is based on what she said in the interviews that I've watched. I don't know her personally, don't know the other writers personally. So here we go. All right, so there was so much going on. There was too many people. There were too many plot lines. It was detracting from authorial intent, easy for me to say. Okay, as authors, we need to really slice it down. What do we need to do and what do we need to say to grasp readers' attentions and keep them coming back for more? What do we not need to do? We're gonna pretend that's Navy pilot Ken and he's trying to get a little attention. All right. I got lost, here we go. So we need to make sure that our storylines and our characters have internal consistency, and that was a little lacking in this movie. There were scenes that really could have been tightened up, and there were a lot of scenes that really could have just been cut out. Again, the Mattel execs, bad use of time. That time could have been put elsewhere and used very, very, very well, looking at some of the other themes about Sasha, Gloria, Barbie Land, femaleness, fun, because we don't have a lot of fun in our lives right now, do we? All right, so patriarchy. We put a pin in it, now I'm back. I'm gonna pop some balloons here. So Barbie Land was supposed to be the direct cookie cutter inverse of the real world as an extreme, and it went from patriarchy to pinktriarchy. I'm gonna trademark that word. So the pendulum in the real world, we're getting closer to the center, and that's a good thing. That is a really good thing. Barbie Land was all the way over to the other side. The Kens had nothing. They had no say, they had no freedom, they had no inner drive. They were nothing without their Barbies. And that's really like the very, very ancient times, 1800s and earlier, where women were nothing without their husband. Okay, it's an inverse. And it's so overwhelming that I do believe the authors were trying to make a point here. It got a little jumbled though. Again, little editing, little cutting and slicing. Okay, so I do want to touch on that Matchbox 20 song, Push. It was really interesting. And the first time that I really thought about it, I was like, okay, well, all right, men push you around. Okay. I thought about it overnight. And then I started realizing, you know what? That was brilliant. The whole thing, I want to push you around, and I will. That's what the Barbies were doing to the Kens. And now the Kens were doing it to the Barbies. It's the complete and total inverse, and it's brilliant when you think about it, because it gave me something to hold on to that wasn't frustration. I'm sorry, Greta, don't kill me. I love you. Oh my God. Okay, so, you know, you want to give things like that, and we'll talk about copyright, and we'll talk about using lyrics and stuff in later videos. Just don't do it. But in this case, it proved a point, and it trusted the audience to know exactly what she was trying to say, exactly what she was trying to mean, and she trusted us to pick up on it. That's what you want to do as an author. Trust your audience, trust your readers. Okay, so there's a lot of discussion too about Ken, Beach Ken, Ryan Gosling, about how, you know, he went out into the real world and he was overwhelmed by these ideas of men doing all these things. But it was kind of weird, because when you look at Barbie as a doll, you know Ken and Barbie have been doing everything. Ken's been a veterinarian, so has Barbie. Barbie's been president. Okay, maybe Ken hasn't been president. I don't think so. Tell me in the comments. I can't remember. But any and all careers, Ken and Barbie have done them, and they've done the top level. They haven't been an assistant anything. They haven't been a lower level or mid-level manager. They've been the CEO. I got you, Ken. I got you. We're talking about you. Navy pilot Ken. He exists now, at least in my mind. One of the things too, side characters have to be important, but they can't overwhelm the main character. And it kind of felt a little bit like stereotypical Barbie. Margot Robbie was almost getting pushed into the background by Beach Ken. And I gotta say though, Margot Robbie, anyone else in this, okay, look, she's beautiful, she looks like Barbie. The ability she had to emote, to show emotions, they were subtle and they were believable. She saved the movie from getting totally tossed over to the side arc of Ken having some sort of actualization. Okay, as authors, we want to make sure that our side characters are three-dimensional and they have something endearing to them, but they're not so much that our readers want to hear more from them and not our main characters. If we make them too shallow, we don't have wonderful, amazing voice actors or actors to do the work for us. Margot and Ryan did the work for us. They're not supposed to be flying this late. Oh my God, what's going on here? Okay. So, as authors, we need to rely on creating a lush and a full world without going over the top into descriptions and purple prose, but we want our readers to know what's going on. That's one of the benefits of visual media. You don't have to describe things. It's there. People can see it, they can take it away, they can imagine it, you know, weeks later. We need to write it down in a way that it resonates, that it can be a memory without going into overly complicated minutia. Okay, it's like the execs, the Mattel execs did not need to be there. Overly flowery, dense hyperbole doesn't need to be in your book. Trust your readers. Let them fill things in. All right, so here's the thing too. I want to get to the end of the movie because I thought it was really It was really, yeah. Okay, don't have too much fun with your readers. And I don't mean like fun, it's great, it's frothy, it's, you know, it's cute, it's exciting. Y'all, I can't do editing to save my life because of all this stuff going on with my head, but good gracious. All right, I'm gonna have to start like filming at 3 in the morning or something. I apologize. Okay, where was I? Don't be too clever. Have fun, but don't be too clever, okay? This whole thing about internal consistency, when I was playing with Barbies, Barbie, Ken, G.I. Joe, because, you know, he was there. Navy pilot Ken, sorry. None of them had genitalia. None of them. Like, when Barbies go into the real world, do they suddenly get vages? I mean, do they get junk? I don't know. Is that why the Mattel execs were so worried? If Gloria and Sasha stayed in Barbie Land, would they suddenly just not have any? Yeah, these are the questions I ask because I'm weird. You're going to have readers that are going to ask questions like this too. Internal consistency is important. World building is important. Know exactly what is going on and don't set yourself up for hard questions from your readers. Okay. I'm almost done, guys. 3 o'clock tomorrow, or next time I film, I promise. Okay, here's the other thing, and this is why it dropped down to a B. How many Barbie lands are there? Like, how many? If the Barbies are tied to a girl, what happens if, like, why aren't there more weird Barbies? Like, I know there's the discontinued Barbies, but why aren't there more weird Barbies? Are they like little worlds connected to little places? Like that Barbie land is connected to Los Angeles, and there's another Barbie land connected to like Chicago and Singapore. That's a country. My bad. Migraine. Sorry, it's been a day. But are there multiple Barbie lands? And like, what happens if the Barbie gets like thrown into the trash or catches on fire or ends up in a fighter jet? I'm so sorry. I'll get better at this, I promise. But what happens to the Barbies? Like, is there a Barbie graveyard? I want to know, because that can't just be, I mean, Barbie Land wasn't that big. Tell me what is going on here. I want to know. Okay, great. I'm crazy. I get into the little, you know, digging into the details. I start picking things apart. But I want to know this. Like, are there other Barbie lands? Know your world. Understand your world building. Be prepared to flesh that part out a little bit, because if you don't, you're gonna have people like me asking questions on Reddit. I don't go on Reddit personally, like I read, but know what you want to say, how you want to say it, know your world building, and be prepared. Answer the questions you need to answer. If it's a series, yes, set it for the next book, absolutely. But don't leave very important questions just hanging out there, because yeah, Barbie's probably going to get a sequel, but is that going to be answered? Are we ever going to find out? I don't know, but I want to know. So that is why I gave Barbie a B, which is an Asian F. But we've seen the meme, that's real, let me tell you. You don't want to have an Asian F. You want to have a solid A. You want your readers to love you. You want your readers to come back. You want them to recommend your book to other people. So I think looking at media, digging it apart on top of reading books within our genre is very important for us to hone our craft and understand what it is we're trying to accomplish, how we want to present ourselves, and what we want our audience to take away from it. So, on that note, before they fly over again, bye Barbie. Please like, subscribe, and share. I can only get better. I hope.